Let's be honest, parenting can be messy and hard, but also so rewarding. In this podcast, we'll share all the ups and downs of parenthood, as well as share some of our favorite tips and tricks for parenting using both our experiences and expertise from our professional lives as a speech and language pathologist and teacher, but also our everyday lives as moms, just trying to balance it all. We're so glad you could join us.
Hello, welcome to And Then We Had Kids. I am Jenny.
And I'm Sheena.
And I think I say this every time we have a guest on, but it's by far one of my favorite parts that I never really anticipated. You learn a lot as you become a parent. And then when you have more than one kid, you're like, oh yeah, you sort of become this quote unquote expert of your kids. But there's still so much to learn and so much out there. And so we have an amazing guest that I'm so excited to learn more about and her role, her job, how she got started. And I also love how these things happen. So I have a friend who has, I believe now he's 10 months old. And she made the choice, as we all do, when you have your baby, are you going to go back to work? Are you staying home? What big shifts are happening? She returned to work. And part of her, what her job offered was this coaching to help with the transition back to work life.
And that is so cool.
I was going to say, she didn't.
I feel like I wish
don't have
more.
That.
Yeah, I wish more companies offered this because, I think when I was doing a little bit of research on our guest, it was where was this when we were having our kids? I wish that this had been a resource, and to hear that it's a benefit with her company is just outstanding. So kudos to her company for doing that.
Yeah. And so it sounded like it came up of my friend mentioning our podcast here. And then this coach said if she ever wants to come on. And we're like, yes, this opens up a great world that you just said, Sheena, in the education world, we didn't get this. It's also kind of once you have your baby and then if you decide to go back to work, you just have this date and then you go back and you're expected to kind of figure out this crazy balance of a newborn and your job expectations. So I'm so excited. We have Rebekah Nanfria from 3B Coaching joining us on this episode. So Rebekah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys. I'm so excited.
So we've kind of teased a little bit about what your role is, but before we jump into exactly what your day-to-day looks like, how you support not just working moms, but working dads, working parents as a whole, you share a little bit about yourself and your own journey to parenthood.
I will. Yes, I will. So I was born in Florida and I grew up in a really awesome, just great family, so loving and supportive. And it was just sort of always a given to me that I would be a mom someday, but I didn't really think about it. It was just yes, that's what you do.
Right.
My brother and sister are way older than I am. And so I watched their journey of it. They had their kids pretty young too. And so it was okay, that's what I'm going to do. But I'm classic youngest child. So I had to be a bit rebellious and very attention seeking and all of that. And so my path then took me to becoming an actor. So I went away to college and I studied theater and got a degree in that.
Cool.
Yes, it was fun and awesome. And then I moved to Chicago, actually, from college.
For acting?
Yeah. Well, so I got my degree and then a group of us went to Chicago because we were going to start a theater company, which lasted about a minute.
It's good to have dreams. It's great to have dreams, actually. Yes.
But it was good because then I started to work and I actually worked for 20 plus years professionally in the entertainment industry, partly in Chicago and then partly in Los Angeles. But in Chicago, I met my husband, which sort of is the beginning of my parenthood.
Yes.
Okay.
So we actually met, this is kind of fun. We met doing a student film and we were boyfriend, girlfriend in the film. And we were shooting one day and he had his hand on my leg while they were lighting us. And at this stage, I was wearing Doc Martens and flannel and chain smoking and, was nowhere near being a mom. And I looked down at his hands and I thought, those are the hands that are going to hold me when I have a baby. And then
my gosh.
And I was kind of freaked out that I even thought that. but then, that was then 9 years later, we had our first kid together. And then we've had two they're 16 and 19 now.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit on the other side of it. How old are your guys' kids?
4 and 2.
Yeah.
Almost like the 5 and 3, like shifting that bit,
Yeah.
but it's
we're in full on toddler stages
Yeah.
in our households.
Yeah. So
you
man,
have big toddlers.
I do. That's actually a really good description. So yeah, so we that's sort of my journey. So I was an actor for a long time, and then when we decided we were going to have kids, it was kind of like, well, we knew we wanted to have a family, so I guess you have to have babies to have a family. And it's kind of weird because I was never really a baby person, like, and I'm still not. I don't love babies.
Yeah.
And we got pregnant really quickly. We were really fortunate. And then about 2 weeks after I found out I was pregnant, I was sobbing one day and I was like, Michael, we've made an enormous mistake. Right. What are we doing? And then because I was freaked. I didn't know how we were going to do. And I didn't know if I was going to like babies. And my sister was like, well, they're people for longer than they're babies. And so you're going to be okay. Like they're full, And then I did love my babies, even as babies now. And they're these awesome people now. I love who they've grown up to be.
That's so cool.
I feel like that's like so nice to hear that, like people who, yes, like some of us, and I'm kind of in the same boat as you, of like, I knew I was always going to be a mom, right? Like that was like, it was just going to be part of my life. And I do love babies. So like, that was easier for me. Like, I love the infant, I love the newborn phase, and people don't, and that's okay. And I like to hear like the phrasing of like, well, they're people longer than their babies. I'm like, oh, that is true.
It's a nice reframe.
Yeah.
I like a good reframe.
Yeah.
So here you are, this actress, or in acting, I should say, and then you shifted to this mom role, which is a big shift.
Yeah.
Now you're at this beautiful company called 3B Coaching. How did you find yourself there after being in acting for so long?
Yeah. So about 10 years ago, I got to the point where I was like, I just don't care about the acting thing anymore. It just didn't feel purposeful. And
you were doing that with your kid, like still doing, like still pursuing that piece.
Still
like
doing that.
Okay.
Yeah. I ended up doing a lot of commercials. I got that face, so I was a kind of the quintessential commercial mom for a long time. So I was dragging them to auditions with me. Sometimes they would audition with me. Shoving lollipops in their mouth to get them quiet outside the room for like the 3 minutes I was in there.
Yes.
So that was for all. And then I just got to the point where I was like, okay, I didn't feel a lot of purpose and meaning to it anymore. I became an actor to tell stories and change the world. And that wasn't what I was doing. I was making a living, but it wasn't what I was doing. And I just wanted to do something that felt more meaningful. And so I was like, I don't know what that's going to be. For a long time, I thought I'd go back to school and become a marriage and family therapist.
Okay.
But with two little kids, like the idea for me at that point of like going to grad school. Yeah.
The whole nine. Yeah.
I just didn't think I had the bandwidth. So I hired a coach who was a friend of mine. I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know what coaching was or what I was in for. And we had our first call and I was like, oh, I got to work with this woman. I don't even know why or where we're going.
But you seeked out a coach to help transition to something different. And balance parenting. Because I feel like in the education world where she and I come from, coaching is like obviously a profession and that we hear about, but it has not, in all honesty, has not crossed my mind as like a parent in that sense of like, there could be coaching for like my kid, but not, and Sheena, I don't know if that's similar for you, but like,
I mean, I was an instructional and behavioral coach in schools, but I think to think of it from like, I actually did that while I was having my first, but I would have never thought to shift those skills or even to like shift it in terms of accessing a coach for myself
For yourself as like a mom.
from that lens.
Yeah. Which is so interesting.
Well, but I'd be honest, at that point, that wasn't what I was looking for a coach for. That hadn't crossed
Oh,
my mind
okay.
either
Yeah.
at the time. It was
You're-
strictly like, what am I going to do work
It
wise?
was, it was like a
Yeah.
career coach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Which is still, I feel like I did that in like college, right? And then you're kind of like, oh, I'm supposed to figure it out, quote unquote, what I want to do with my life at that point.
Yeah.
So even again, thinking about it, here's this next phase of your life where your kids are a little bit older,
We're
or what
thinking
you
about
were
all the people who are
doing.
like thinking about leaving their careers to switch to something
Yeah.
else, and they don't
Yeah.
know what to do, but here's this great resource.
Yeah.
Well, because so often, like, people have ended up in careers where they made some kind of choice when they were younger, but didn't really, converse with their values and their,
Yes.
or they made a decision because somebody else told them they should or whatever. And so that's a great part of coaching in general, right? Is to go, wait, what are my values? What are my core things? Like, two of my main values are connection and intuition. And if I'm using those, I feel alive.
Yeah.
And if I'm not, then I'm off,
Right.
Just feel.
So I didn't mean to interrupt. It's just like,
no,
I feel like
cool.
you're bringing up like really great points as, Sheena and I mentioned, like our kids are younger, and so much happens in like a span of like 5 years, 10 years. And it doesn't mean you're stuck anywhere, but then being able to take those pause moments for yourself and say, what do I see myself doing? What's next? So you met this coach and you're like having these aha moments and really connecting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, because also I realized, like, just listening to you say that, Jenny, that like we're not the same people, right? Once we become parents. So it's like, it's kind of a phrase we use a lot in coaching is like getting into agreement with reality and give you this opportunity to catch up with like, what's true now?
Yeah.
What's true about me now? Okay. So anyway, so I hired this coach and I was like, oh, this is a job. Coaching is a job. I just didn't even know existed. And then I was like, that's it. This is where I belong. So in 2014, early-ish in the year, I went through coach training and then just sort of hung out my shingle and started getting clients, private clients. So I was doing just all kinds of different coaching. A lot of the people I knew were actors and writers and directors and producers and stuff like that. So I worked with a lot of those people. And then was going along doing that. And then my first coach, who is now one of my best friends in the world, and also one of the other 3B coaches, called me early in 2019 and was like, hey, I think I got this really cool opportunity for you. This woman that I know who lives a block over from me, she owns this coaching company called 3B Coaching, and she's looking to add coaches to her team to do contract work. And that was it. That was how this entered. And so most of our work is through one of the big 4 accounting firms. That's our biggest client. We have other ones too. And it's the best because I feel so passionate about family and about supporting families. And what's great is I'm not just coaching the mom or dad, right? It sort of bleeds out into how they're showing up as parents.
Yeah.
How they're showing up as work, how they're showing up as a spouse. So it's magic.
That sounds so, so the coaching that you were doing previously wasn't necessarily like the parenting coaching, or it was?
If I had a parent, it might be some, but it wasn't really parent.
Wasn't like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So
and I still do that. Like I do have my private clients too, and then coach parents.
Oh, how nice. I feel like that the world is like open to a lot.
Absolutely.
Can you describe a little bit? I had not heard of 3B coaching. Can you share a little bit about what 3B coaching is? Like, what's their motto? What do they do?
Yeah. So basically our vision is to empower new parents to really hear their own voice and trust themselves. I'd say like that's the core thing is over and over. We're like, what is going to work for you and your family?
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we're so inundated as new parents with what we're quote unquote supposed to do, how we should be, what it must look like, whether that's society or our mom or our sister or friends or whatever.
Yeah,
And so,
absolutely.
yeah, so that's really then the main thing is that we want parents to go, okay, let's slow down, get clear on who you are. What does it mean to you to be successful? Because, so for some, new parents, that's going to be really gunning for their promotion and not stopping at all at work
Uh-huh.
and still being around for bedtime,
Right.
and, and for some it shifts, right? And all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I don't really have a huge focus on my job anymore. I still want to do it and do it well,
Mm-hmm.
but that identity has changed.
Mm-hmm.
So we just create this space where our clients can be really seen, really heard. It's a confidential space, right? It doesn't, nothing leaves our little vault of a conversation.
You're not like reporting to any of like the higher ups or
Exactly.
people like
Yeah.
that. So, because I mean, thinking back of going back when I did go back to work with my first one, it's such a whirlwind. And like at that point, you may or may not be having a baby who sleeps through the night or gives you like
Yeah.
any kind of consistency, most likely not. So you're also incredibly sleep deprived and figuring out if it's your first, like what am I doing
Yeah.
on the daily? How am I getting through the day? But then also what you're saying, like where do I see myself? How do I not lose this identity I had before? Or how do I continue to stay true? Because I think that also happens a lot and people might not always acknowledge that piece of the shift of my identity as a parent slash professional worker of some kind,
Mm-hmm.
which can be really hard.
Yeah.
It's a
So
lot to figure out.
there is a lot to figure out.
Yeah.
So I think to have like a sounding board, like a coach is incredible.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like you said, you're sleep deprived, you're exhausted, you're trying to figure everything out. And then it's this like this sacred hour, 45 minutes to go, okay, this is going to be all about me. I'm going to be completely selfish. I'm going to hear myself talk. As coaches, we ask thought-provoking, powerful questions, that people maybe aren't asking themselves. We reflect back what we're hearing said, because sometimes we don't really hear the words that we're saying until someone goes, hey, let me just reflect back to you what I'm hearing. Or I'll chime in with like just sort of an intuitive hit of like, what I feel like I'm hearing you say that you're not actually saying out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so often people will be like, oh, yeah, that is what I'm not saying.
Yeah.
Are the sessions in person or like?
No, by phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which then I feel like makes it a little bit easier to access too, because you're not having to figure out the schedule of like how to get your baby to and from a spot and
Yep.
Oh.
And I have had many, many, many calls with a baby screaming in the background or cooing in the background or a pump going.
Just so is life. I really got to find
Yeah.
a way, which is super important as a parent to continue to these times to put yourself first in these moments so that you can then feel like you're present in all the aspects of your life that make you feel like
That's
complete.
exactly right.
Yeah.
So let's say, so you said I know the friend that I mentioned that we connect with, she had like several sessions allotted, maybe like 5 or so. What does a typical session look like? So you get a call, you call person.
So they call me.
Okay.
And then usually I'll just start out by saying, hey, what's our topic today? What do you want to talk about? They get a prep sheet ahead of time. Some people fill them out, some people don't. I'm always like, fill it out if it helps you. If it stresses you out, don't worry about it. So I'll say, what do you want to talk about? What's on your mind? And, so say it might be something like, oh, my in-laws are coming to town and I'm really stressed because historically they're, a little bit overbearing or something like that. And we're like, okay, great. So that's our topic. And then we'll get clear on like, what are you wanting from this call? Where do you want to be 45 minutes from now?
Mhm.
So they might be just looking for like a reframe, a perspective shift. Maybe they want to figure out what boundaries they want to set up, or how to have a conversation with their spouse about the arrival. You know, it could be all kinds of stuff. So we kind of get clear on what they're looking for, and then we just like dig in and we get curious about what's going on underneath stuff. Where's your mindset? A lot of coaching is about looking at what are the stories we're telling ourselves, you know, because we all
Yeah.
walk around believing certain things are absolutely true about ourselves or about the
Right.
world, right? Until one day we go, oh my gosh, maybe that doesn't have to be.
Well,
Yep.
especially like the parenting world, I feel like, where you can get it, like you said, from like friends, family, and then the lovely piece that is social media, where you're like, and then as a new parent, I remember when Sheena and I had our newborns around the same time, and of course we would be up
Yeah.
at similar times in the middle of the night. And like we would be sending each other stuff on like Instagram or something.
At
Or
like
then you get
3
yeah, like
a.m.
3 a.m. Yeah. And I'd see that she was on, or like Pinterest. And of course, then all of your like whatever you start looking at, then your feeds get inundated with that. And I'd be like, oh man, my 2-month-old isn't on a sleep schedule. What am I doing with my life? How do I make this happen? And then it's like, no, all their needs are met. Like I'm doing fine, but it's so much coming at you when you're really not in like the greatest headspace to take it all in or to like sift through it
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, social media is questionable in the
all the time. Yeah.
times, right? But if I wish I could like take all social media like that away from parents, because
Yeah.
so there can just be so much shame and so many lies. I mean, we all know what social media is doing to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. But again, like as a new parent, I think that's like sometimes where you're, and especially in the middle of the night, where you turn to if you're like, I need something, but knowing that there's like a coach out there who you could turn to if you're just like being able to like jot these any I don't know kind of thoughts that go through your mind in the middle of the night. I feel like if I had like a coach that would have been like, hey, I was worried about X, Y, and Z in the middle of the night. Can we like just talk about that for
Yeah.
45 minutes? It would have been a beautiful thing
Mhm.
instead of social media.
Yeah. Instead of strangers.
Yes, exactly. Oh,
Perfect strangers.
no.
So yeah, so then we'll dig in, we'll talk about it. And then, coaching, we're always looking for actions. So there's a lot of like getting aware, right? What's going on in your mind? What are your thoughts and all of that stuff? But then we're looking for like, okay, what are you going to do differently?
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not just processing, it's taking action, and we want to activate a new way of being, right? So sometimes that's something really specific and measurable, like, I'm going to give up social media for a week and
Yeah.
see what happens. Or,
Right.
I'm making a commitment to walk 2 times a week or whatever it
Mhm.
is. So it can be something like that. Or sometimes we'll be like, so maybe you want to experiment with asking for help this week.
Hmm.
That's something that comes up a lot, I find, especially with like high achieving professionals. There's this story that I can't have to ask for help.
Yeah. Like it makes you look weak.
Right.
Doesn't.
No, it doesn't. People love to help other people,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
and none of us is supposed to know how to do all of this
Right.
or be able to do it alone. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think coming from someone who, when I think about coaching, of someone who has like that degree of separation, like you're not hearing it from obviously love friends and family so much, but then sometimes it feels like, okay, I know is going to be the response like that I would give if I'm like the new parent. Like, I know.
Sometimes you just need that neutral party, right? That doesn't have any stake in the game. That can really, like you said, like help you reflect, help you reframe, help you just shift that mindset without having that clouded judgment.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I like hearing like that you're part of 3B coaching is having these like action steps.
Mhm.
Like we can talk about it for a very long time and like quote unquote like admire the problem in a way, or just feel like you're stuck and not getting anywhere. But
Mhm.
to have someone say, okay, we're going to check in. However, I'm not sure how long in between sessions you guys have, but then it'd be like, okay, let's check in and see how you're doing so that you feel like there's, okay. And it seems so small, but as a new parent, you often just have to start somewhere, especially like balancing like work and parenthood.
Yeah, you like level setting the expectation, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, like I'll hear so many new moms will be like, well, I'm just not working out like I used to. I used to be at the gym 3-4 times a week for an hour and a half, and I got to get back to that. We're like, okay, you will.
Right.
Yeah, but let's just one step at a time,
Yeah.
right?
How frequent are the coaching sessions? Are they like typically weekly, bi-weekly? Does it
Usually
depend
we'll
on
do
the
one.
person?
Usually we'll do one before people go out on leave. And then one before they come back from leave to kind of help with those two like major transition times. And then the
Okay.
other ones tend to be about monthly.
Okay.
Because it gives you a time, the month in that arena, like it'll give you time to like try out the things we've talked about.
Yeah.
Things
Mhm.
are going. That's how it works with the contracts that we have. When I have personal clients, we'll work twice a month, sometimes every week, just depending on time and financial resources. Because it's like,
Mhm.
it's like going to a gym, right?
Yeah.
The more often you can do it, the more shifts you're gonna be able to
Yeah. You'll
make.
see that
You see that
change
change.
You're
and
like
that
building
growth.
that
Yeah.
that muscle memory in your brain.
Yeah. And also then every time we get back on a call, we get to go, okay, cool. So these are the things you committed to last time. What are we celebrating?
Uh-huh.
Right? What went great? And big on celebrating, right? I personally feel like we don't do enough of that in our society of going, this is what I did well. This is what I feel great about, you know? And then the things that didn't go well, we just go, okay, cool. How come? What got in the way? Let's just get
Yeah.
curious.
Oh, I
Hmm.
love that. So again, I keep going back to this is like a whole new world. I feel like these like doors are like opening for me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Um, so my friend, hers is obviously through a contract, but like let's say, like for myself, like I am about to even have like my third, and every kid is different. If I were someone, and every like pregnancy, going through birth, all that good stuff is different every time. You never know what's going to happen, and you prepare for like every scenario except for what actually happens. It's really fun that way. Um, but as someone who is not, I'm currently a stay-at-home mom and I'm loving it. But if I was someone who wanted a coach from 3B coaching, is that an option, or is it really just through these like contracts that you have through businesses?
No, it's totally an option.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So you just get in touch with us or email me, and we'll talk and explain it. If you go through me, we'll do a chemistry session, see if we're a good fit. Because that's a thing too, right? You want to be a
Oh,
good fit with your coach,
yeah.
Mhm.
so to hop on and go, hey, do we vibe? Right. Um, and then go from there to see how frequently you would want to meet and all of that. But yeah. And then 3B, so it's available for companies, and we do one-on-one coaching. We do group coaching sometimes. We'll do seminars or workshops just about, some of our common themes or topics. Like a big thing that comes up is that there's sort of the old way of working before you became a parent and the new way, and starting to
Oh, yeah.
identify what's the old way, what's the new way. We kind of touched on that. And like, what do you want to take forward with you? And what do you want to leave? What do you want to leave behind? Or setting boundaries. Boundaries become just
Huge. I
everything.
mean, everything, every walk of like every aspect of life. I feel like
Yeah.
that's just such a key one,
Yeah.
and especially becoming a parent.
So huge. And so learning to name them and keep them, because we keep our boundaries. Other people don't keep our boundaries for us, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes it's about like increasing energy. I do a lot of work with people about like, where's your energy going?
Mm.
And where could you take some back?
I like
Right.
that.
What comes up for you guys? Where could you take back energy in your life? What could
my
you
God.
say yes to or no to that would give you,
Are you asking us to answer these questions right now, Rebecca?
if you're feeling bold?
Rebecca,
What can I
this
say
requires
yes
a
to or
lot more
no
brain
to?
power.
Wait, what'd you say, Sheena?
I said it requires a lot of brain power.
Yeah, it is the end of the day. So
Yeah.
No,
But it is
I
a good
think that's a
question.
good question. I think I'm thinking about like, what could I say yes to or no to? For me as like a stay-at-home mom, and it had took a big shift. I think I thought it would be a lot easier. Granted, I'm in like almost 3 years now of being home with my kids, and I truly do love it. But it's been a shift from my quote unquote identity from when I was a speech pathologist working in schools and working in a mental health facility. And that was like who I was. Um, and that was my second, I decided to stay home. And I feel like for me, it's been like letting go of a lot of the control that I
mm,
thought I have to have in order to feel like I'm having a quote unquote productive day. Like I feel like I would have so many like to-do lists or get done lists at work when I
yeah,
was working, and I could like crush it, or I felt I did.
You
That
did.
you did.
thank you.
You did.
That I got like so much done, and I feel like my executive functioning skills, like my organization skills are always like on top of it, and I can just cruise through things. And now I'm at like the pace of where my kids are at. And
Mm,
I can only get so much done during the day. And that doesn't mean it wasn't a good or productive day. It just has shifted.
yeah.
Um, so I feel like saying no to like I like to do things and have things be clean and organized and in my mind perfect.
That's
And they
good.
don't have to be. So that has been
So
um
yeah.
yeah. Like
So
how like I don't have this like my house is a kid-friendly house. It is essentially my whole first floor is a big playroom because I feel like if I have to be home with the kids, I don't want to just be restricted to one room. So I've
mhm.
had to like let go of not having this beautiful home that I thought I would have.
Yeah, but it sounds like it's beautiful in a different way.
It
It
is.
definitely
It
is.
is. I feel very fortunate. Like if I had a friend come over with their kids, it is basically like touch anything, pull anything out. If there's a bin, probably has a bunch of toys in or something. So like that piece is nice. So it kind of answers your question, but
Yeah. Well, I think I heard you say you gave yourself permission to let go of controlling everything in your environment.
yes, still
And
working on it.
yeah,
Rebecca's
for
still
all of
working
us.
on that. Yes, let me tell you. I mean, just like an example, I'll be like in the kitchen and my husband's like, "Where did you put like a chip clip?" And I was like, "It was out." And so I put it back in the drawer where it belongs. So
Okay.
it's like just like that's me. It's like it needs to go in its place, please. So working on that is and it's gonna be working more as I soon add another child to my family. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, Sheena, anything in my rambling that then got
You
you
are gonna
thinking?
you are gonna put me on the spot.
Of
Um,
course.
so I think I definitely let go of like the perfect home, but I probably did that pre-children. Uh,
What about, I mean, maybe your big
but
kid, aka your husband, helped you with that one.
yeah, he does, much to my dismay. And I feel like I've been really good about finding time for myself or like finding time for me to connect with my friends. And I feel like the one thing I would want to actually prioritize, and he's going to love this when he listens to this episode. I feel like I need to spend more time prioritizing my marriage,
Mm,
Oh,
what's that going to
right?
give you? Yeah. What do you?
I feel like we just don't have like the quality alone time together anymore because we're both
kids
so busy
don't.
with work. We're both
Yeah.
so busy, with the kids, and he'll go do his stuff and I watch the kids, and then I'll go do my stuff and he'll watch the kids. But we do less and less with each other. And I just want to make sure that we're putting that commitment at the forefront as well, right? Like our family started out as the two of us. And it has shifted over the years, but I don't want to forget where it started, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So
Getting this coaching session from Rebekah right now. Like
I'm
that
loving
was
it.
just beautiful. But I feel like just even this, like that one question you just posed, Rebekah, is enough to make me think for like a week and a half of just
Yeah.
like, okay, what can I say yes or no to, or how can that piece on my daily, or even like what you're talking about, Sheena, even like long term,
Like
like
even
getting
just
back.
date nights, right? Like I feel
Yeah.
we just don't even do date nights anymore. Like,
Sounds
maybe
like you got a nice action step right here, is
I
what
do.
Rebekah would say, like
Yeah.
try and do one thing, right?
Schedule a date with my hubby.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. When people are engaged in these coaching sessions, is there typically like a set number of coaching sessions that they get? And what happens if they go a couple months and they realize like, hey, I really just need some like check-in or follow-up support? What is that an option? What does that typically look like?
So when it's through a corporate contract that, usually the company is deciding how many, right? So
Okay.
Yeah.
we do have the option with any of us. If you end with the corporate number, you can always go with one of us privately, because we all have
Mhm.
private clients. So that's always an option.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, it's not a set, like no one is, well, I guess the corporate one, you're right. There's like a finite number, but if you're like a private client, you can meet with you up until you feel like I'm at a good point,
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
these check-ins are like once a month or once every couple months, or however deemed fit.
Yeah, when I start with a new client, we always do creating your vision for success.
Uh-huh.
We go, where are you today? And what are you looking for? Why are you here? Why'd you hire a coach? Right. So that again, it's always that forward looking, because we're not here to untangle past or just process, mental health.
That's what therapists are for.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll always say, why'd you come? What will success look like for you, and how will you know you've achieved that success? And I always have them fill that out, and we have a document that's that. And almost across the board, there just kind of reaches a place where people go like, we'll have a couple sessions where like, I don't really know what I want to talk about. I don't really know what I'm here. And then we'll go, hey, maybe we're done.
Yeah.
Right.
Then we'll pull out that vision sheet and look at it. And it's the best moment ever. Because then I get emotional thinking about it, because I've had so many people who are like, oh, I forgot that's where I started. I forgot that's how I felt,
Yeah.
And, so my job is to work myself out of a job.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
As a coach.
That's the success of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Truly. But it is, I feel like you're, again, going back to this time of your life where you're have this newborn, sleep deprived, you're going back to work, you're trying to balance a lot. And then you truly do like black out a handful of it once you're like through it. So like, it sounds like such a great moment to be able to reflect back and be like, oh yeah, that day, or like, remember that time was rough, and be able to say, look at how far I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
Look who I am now.
Yeah.
And look how I'm balancing all these parts of my life, right? I'm showing up at work the way I want to. I'm showing up for my family the way that I want to. And again, it all comes back to that. We really, really want to support parents to define their vision of success.
Yeah.
And then the actions to strategize to claim it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sheena.
Oh, I was just going to say, so, this sounds so amazing. What do you do for yourself? How do you balance the work and mom life? 2 hats, maybe 3 hats or more of Rebekah.
So some really just simple things. I I so protect my sleep.
Ooh. Oh,
I can't wait for that stage of life.
Yeah. Well, I feel like my second kid, I didn't sleep for more than a 4-hour block of time for 2 years.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Yes, it was madness. I was
It's,
like, so I feel yeah. And also invitation to, as much as possible, find that sleep. Like, even if it's 10 minutes here and there,
mhm.
put, turn something off, put the phone down,
Mhm.
whatever. And then also, I'm not a meditator, so to speak. I've never really been able to like find that within myself, but I start every single day sitting on my little meditation pillow, just with a scrap sheet of paper next to me, and I just brain dump everything that's going on in my mind for about 10 minutes. And I have found that practice has made all the difference in me being able to balance who I want to be as a mom, who I want to be as a coach, a wife, a daughter, sister, everything. Because my head just spins all day.
Yeah. Do you go back to that list, or is it kind of like once you wrote it down, it's out
I
of
go
your brain?
back to it. I have
Okay.
it, and then I dump, and then I'll put it in the appropriate, like if I think of something for work, I'll be like, okay, it's here, then, and I just sort of sort it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I run, I do yoga. I've never been like a hobby person, just
Yeah.
this kind of thing. I guess my biggest like thing that I love that fills me is just connecting with the people I love. So that's really what I do for me.
Oh, that's good. Love it. I feel like it doesn't have to be this like grand thing, so to speak. It just is like,
Yeah.
even the fact that you're like, sleep seems like a basic need. Make it a priority in some way. And obviously our brains are so full of so much all the time, especially as parents. I mean, to think of yourself, your kids, your family, your husband, everything, to have that time, I think would be, I might try and take some of that on. I know like my brain just doesn't stop. Just to be able to like write it all down. And my mom, it's one of those things where like my mom tells me that. Love my mom. And like she didn't tell me that for like years. Like if I'm up in the middle of the night, she's like, just write it down and go back to sleep. I'm like, okay. But hearing from someone who's not my mom is like could be where I start. I love you, mom. So yeah, I just think doing those little things, it makes the world of a difference.
Yeah.
Or it could, and you don't even know it yet.
Yeah, I feel like that's one I need to try.
Right.
And it's interesting because I bet if I'd asked you, Jenny, you would have pulled that out. Like, I should probably brain dump all these things in my head. Like, and that's the thing that's so cool. It's like you have all your answers. As a coach, I don't like tell people what I think they should do. Or
Right. That's the thing. Like, I do brain dumps at work all the time. Why have I not tried this at home?
There you go.
I don't know.
So
now you can.
You already knew it within yourself.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
You had mentioned something earlier about, I'm going back to a little bit more of like 3B coaching in general before we like kind of talk about where people can find out more about you guys and you specifically, Rebekah. Having like this meet and greet, so to speak, of making sure that you as a coach connect with a client or whoever. How many people are at 3B coaching? How much, like, what does your staff look like? So let's say if like they meet with you and they're like, you're very nice, but who else? Like what does the staff look like for 3B coaching? And
there are 4 of us.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we're small. We all have a little bit different style and come from different backgrounds. Yeah.
This may seem like a silly question. You're all parents, right?
Oh yeah, all parents.
Yep.
one of the prerequisites. All parents and all certified coaches.
Yeah. It's one where like, it's an interesting piece where, I mean, she and I have obviously worked with parents and families and kids for many years. And I would be one who would offer up advice or support about parenting pre-kids or like advice on what to do with their child, let's say.
Yeah.
Now that I am a parent, I'm like, oh my God, I would have like been so annoyed with a little 24-year-old telling me what to do with my kid when they don't have any kids. And I mean, I just think about it now. So to know that like all the coaches at 3B coaching are parents is,
yeah.
And they're doing what they're supporting clients. Like you guys are working and parents.
Right.
They're doing like the both.
Yeah. And, we hope that like I said, so we're not there to tell people what to do or give them advice.
Yeah.
We might have tools, that have worked or little tricks or, things we've seen other clients do. We'll share those things as options. But we do hope that we can help to take away some of the trial and error.
Yeah. Have some, like, it just feels like this wide open world that you're now trying to navigate to then have some kind of direction or a person to talk to.
Yeah. Because we just, we want our parents to feel lighter and that life is a little bit easier. I mean, one of my favorite things to hear at the end of a call, if I say, so, what's changed from when you arrived today to where we're hanging up right now? And when people say, oh, I feel relief, or I feel lighter, or I feel hope, or I have a strategy now. I know I have power.
Mm-hmm. That's like, you can feel like you can walk away as a coach from that session and be like,
yeah,
thumbs up on that one.
Yeah.
We got somewhere good. We're in a good forward motion of some kind.
Yeah.
Oh, I never would have thought that something like this existed, even though it's kind of one of those where you're like, duh. Like it should, like,
so much
why not have an extra support person outside of the workplace to help you figure out, and obviously, like you said, like, you're not gonna have all the answers, and it's not gonna make it it's still rough. The days are long, things like that are still so true. You're not gonna fix things that are, like that piece, but you're gonna be this person that a parent could reach out to, or just have you can guide all those crazy thoughts that are going on, and so many thoughts that are going on in a new parent's mind, especially balancing that work and parent life.
Yeah.
So I just think it's incredible that your service is out there. I'm just so happy that we got connected and that you were willing to come on here and share your story and share what you do, what 3B coaching does, and that it doesn't have to be only through like a corporate contract. But if anybody is feeling like this is hard, which it is, to have a baby and to be working, if you're wanting an extra bit of support, 3B coaching is definitely something and people to check out.
Absolutely.
So how can, go ahead. No, go.
You're not supposed to know how to do it right away, right? We're not supposed to know how. And I don't, Brene Brown talks about FFTs, effing first times. I don't know if you've heard her talk about that.
You're talking to two people who absolutely love
Brene Brown.
If she's ever in our area, we will go see her. And if anyone I'm going to back up. If anyone has not heard of Brene Brown, look her up.
Yes.
Her books are incredible. The things that topics she talks about, she's a phenomenal speaker. She's just like a really relatable human being on so many levels.
And she puts topics into everyday language.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? She makes it easier for people to understand. So yeah, we love Brene Brown.
So then you're familiar with her.
Yeah.
A concept of FF, and that, we're not supposed to know. It's a first time. And if we stop and go, oh, it's okay that I don't know how to do this yet. It's okay that I don't know how to do both work and be a parent. And lay off and give yourself a break and give yourself some grace.
Yeah.
But it's so true that people you have your baby, and then all of a sudden you're expected to know how to do it all.
Yeah.
And that includes the life pre-baby with your working life and your working self. And it should all just magically mesh together and be this wonderful thing. And it's hard. And to make mistakes along the way, but to have a coach like yourself, and granted, this is the first time we're meeting, but I feel like just being able to hear you, listen to you, the way you pose questions, the way you responding and reflecting with us is I want to work with you. Like, can you be my coach,
I love it.
So I just keep going to the fact that like this podcast, I just love that it opened up so many different connections. And that's always the hope, is that like Sheena and I, we don't know what we're doing either. And it's just like and I feel really fortunate that I have Sheena to like laugh about things, or to like text her and be like, this happened today. Yay. Like, please tell me I'm not going crazy or something like that.
Yeah.
But if you don't have someone like that, to have a coach is like a great start, or great somebody to have in your corner to help you.
Yeah. And I think the whole purpose of us coming together with this podcast was to talk about the struggles. How do you find balance? What are your tools, your tips and tricks that you can share, share some of your wisdom with others. And no one has all the answers. So you've got to, that's where I love bringing on guests that can speak to stuff we can't.
Yeah.
So this has been really awesome.
Guys, thanks for having me. This was fun. I adore you too.
Is there anything, where can people find out about 3B coaching, first of all? And then second, is there anything about 3B coaching that like we just didn't hit on or something? I just want to make sure that people can really be able to access you guys and just get the support.
Okay, so where to access? You can go to 3B Coaching, and
okay,
you guys have it all in the show notes, right? So
yes,
and so you can go there to find more about 3B, and or you can also email me. You can go to my website, email me personally, and I'll talk to you. And so 3B not only does our corporate work, our individual coaching, and the corporate. I said this, I think about, we do workshops also and seminars. We'll talk about different things. So if you are in a position, if you're listening to this and you're in the position to bring something to your organization or to the company that you work with, definitely get in touch, and we can like curate stuff for you. Like if you call and go, here's our issue within our organization for our new parents. Here's what we're hearing struggles with. We can totally do that. So we love to do that. Wow. And there's also on the 3B, there's a self-guided, you've got this, like workbook, interactive workbook designed that you can also get on the 3B website that Carly, who is the founder of 3B, created and made and hosts. So that's something that's fun that's on there. Or you can contact me personally, and I'll email people, set up chemistry sessions, whatever you need.
That's incredible.
Just want to, to me, families are like, it's the core, Yeah. And if we can support new parents, it's going to help them at work. And that's great. And we want people to be successful at work and all that. But from my heart too, it impacts so much home, and it impacts the kids and the environment the kids are in. Because how we're doing at work impacts how we're showing up at home.
And, definitely.
And how we're showing up at home impacts work. So it's all this holistic thing that works together.
Again, thank you for being on. And I appreciate that you heard about us through my friend, and then willingly offered. I was like, yes, please. Please get us in touch with your coach. She sounds incredible. And this idea, like you said, of just supporting parents. It's not just moms, it's dads too. I think that's like such a key, crucial, and really special piece about 3B coaching, is that it's parents. And so again, thank you so much, Rebekah, for being on here with us. We've truly enjoyed this.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Take care.
Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all of the latest, you can follow us on Instagram @_and then we had kids. Thanks again, and like we say, life used to be carefree, and then we had kids.